Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina on a collision course. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day, although a little bit late today, slow moving today. It was a late night on Friday night. The Cajuns playing softball and playing baseball. Baseball won, softball lost. We'll get to softball and baseball here momentarily for the Cajuns. But it still looks to be, and as the game's going on right now, Southern Miss and App State. But I don't know if I've ever seen a Sunbelt tournament or any tournament be as chalk as this one, right? There's always upsets somewhere along the way. And the first upset of this tournament was App State coming from behind down 8-0, like a ridiculous score, down 8-0 to Troy, and coming back and winning that 12-8. Center fielder actually makes like a shoestring catch, or else I think the tying run was on deck. In this ball game, it was a crazy ball game. That's no, I guess that's not the one I was looking at. App State got ahead. Oh, I got the wrong box score. Hold on. No, Troy was ahead in this game, and there it is, 14-10. Your final. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong date. My bad. 14-10. App State over Troy like a football game. And Troy was ahead in this ball game, again, 8-0. I mean, they are going to go, they're going to, maybe make their way and have a chance against Southern Miss. And then it all fell apart. I mean, 2 in the first for Troy, 3 in the third for Troy, 2 in the fourth. It's 8-0 heading to the bottom half of the fourth inning. App State puts 4 on the board, or 3 in the board on the 4 in the fourth, and then a 10-run sixth inning. That's just insane. Did I hear this right? Was it all with like 2 outs? Is that right? Let's see here. Flied out, walk, struck out. So there, mostly, yeah. So there is 2 on, and I guess the bases were loaded. And everything happened with 2 outs after that. That's crazy. So a 10-run inning, and then App State almost gave it away. Troy scores. They each score single runs in the 8th. Troy scores 2 in the 9th, right? And there's 2 on, and the tying run's on deck, and the sinking line drive is caught by the App State center fielder. That'd be Wilder. And Troy hangs on, or App State hangs on to defeat Troy 14-10. So that's the first upset of the entire tournament. Everything else had been chalk, regardless of how close Coastal Carolina and Georgia State played. What the Cajuns did, or what Texas State did. The higher seed had won in every single game. It's a little bit shocking. Now, App State's playing Southern Miss right now, and can't give it away because, well, it may change by the time you see this. But it is a close ball game. But the higher seed has won in every game. All right. And so I find that fascinating because usually someone does get upset somewhere, right? Someone doesn't pitch as well as expected, or some hitter does something not as expected. When South Alabama won it a few years ago, they were behind in every single game. They were behind in every single game and had to come back every single game. I don't think they lost a game in that tournament. So they, were able to escape straight to the semifinals and then won that ball game. And then I think they were down like 5-0 to Georgia State in the championship game and came back to win that one, something like that. I don't know if it was 5-0, but they were behind. So I just find it interesting that the top seed has won every time until App State takes down Troy. Okay, now I still believe it is on a collision course with Coastal and Southern Miss. Southern Miss has the best pitching. Coastal has the best hitting. Everybody has played an extra game up until this point, and Southern Miss and Coastal were off on Friday. So whatever the bullpen is completely rested, whereas App State, who beat Troy, and the Cajuns, who beat Texas State, have to play it on Friday. And eventually had easy wins, but App State needed a 10-run inning and then needed a good catch to prevent the tying run from coming to the plate. And Texas State wouldn't go away until Rockefort hit a bases-clearing double, turning a 3-run game into a 6-run game, and that was late. I think it was in the 9th, so it became a blowout at the end, but it was close kind of throughout. All right. Let's take a timeout. We'll go over what the Cajuns did yesterday, both in softball and in baseball. Baseball up first. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we will talk Ragin Cajuns baseball. They have powered their way through into Saturday. They have a tall task ahead of them, taking on the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. We'll wrap up the third segment with Ragin Cajuns softball. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Birddogs. Their shorts are they fit well, they're comfortable, and they bring incredible versatility. All right. I look and feel great wearing my Birddogs shorts. They're very comfortable. Stretchy fabric makes my legs look great, and they're comfier than my other shorts and pants. And the versatility they give me are amazing. You can wear one pair of shorts or pants on the golf course, to a meeting, hanging out with friends, or even on a date. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege, and when you enter promo code LockedOnCollege, they'll throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler just like that with every order. All right. That is birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. And when you enter promo code LockedOnCollege, they'll throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. So you get the shorts and the tumbler. All right. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Ragin Cajuns got to take on Texas State. Ends up being late, of course. Only 2 games on Friday. And the first game, in typical Sunbelt fashion, lasts 4 hours because it was a 14-10 ball game, and one team had a 10-run inning, all with 2 outs. So the Cajuns didn't. They were supposed to play at 6:30. They didn't have first pitch until almost 8 o'clock. And they came out fast. Base hit on the first pitch. In fact, double on the first pitch, bunt on the second pitch, sac fly on the third pitch. It took all of 3 pitches to get the Cajuns on top, 1-0. And they didn't really let up, through all of that. They scored 2 more in the third, 3 more in the fourth, single runs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th. The Cajuns were not retired in order until the 8th inning, and then they exploded for 3 runs in the 9th. They even left 11 men on base, but they got the base hits that they did not get in the game against Coastal Carolina, which they needed to. They got the clutch base hits against Texas State, and my goodness, they beat Texas State 5 times, and not necessarily over the course of the season, like over the course of the last 3 weeks, right? Like Texas State was the second to last series that they played, right? They sweep ULM, they have Texas State, and then they go to Southern Miss. So we're talking, this is 2 weekends ago. They sweep Texas State. Now they beat Texas State twice in 3 days. And, again, 12 runs on 14 hits. It was good to see Rockefort have a big ball game. I kind of felt like he was struggling a little bit. 2 for 3 with 5 runs batted in. Connor Higgs also had a big ball game. He drove in 3 of the 11, but they did strike out 17 times. But they were ahead. They were never behind. Texas State did tie things up in the first inning, but David Christie did a good job of getting out of that jam, giving up only the 1 run. He didn't last as long as you would have liked him to. He went 4 innings. Maybe he comes back and pitches later on in the week. But Cash, 1 run in 1 inning. Moody, 1 unearned run in 2 innings. And Etheridge, 2 innings of a shutout baseball. Does get the save because when he came in, it was a much closer game. It was a 3-run ball game in the 8th. So the Cajuns had their work cut out for them. I have no idea what they're going to do pitching-wise over the next couple of days. In fact, they would have to do it twice today, right? They would have to play Coastal Carolina twice today. And I guess it depends on, you're going to do every other game, right? So if App State pulls off this upset against Southern Miss, the Cajuns play after that, then App State and Southern Miss will play after that, and then the Cajuns and Coastal will have to play after that. I still think it's going to be Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss. I've said that from the beginning. I would be shocked if it wasn't one of those two teams. And App State and the Cajuns, have their work cut out for them. It's not as if, one of those two teams, is coming from the winner's bracket. Then it would be like, oh, well, maybe they got a shot. Now Coastal has to beat the Cajuns twice. Now Southern Miss has to beat App State twice. That's not the case, right? The lesser teams, if you will, the Cajuns have to beat Coastal twice, and App State has to beat Southern Miss twice, and that's just not going to be easy. I'm going to guess that I heard Matt Daggs on the postgame show on KPL FM right here in Lafayette, 96.5. We're not worried about starting or relieving. Just go in there and do your job. I'd have a set amount of innings, right? And maybe if they're really on, you leave them in, but I don't try to stretch them necessarily. The first guy, if we can get in there and get, 3 or 6 outs, we'll do that. Now, if they happen to be on, maybe you leave them in there. But I'm going to be looking for, I don't know how many pitches did it take last night? It took 155 pitches for the Cajuns to beat Texas State. So if I get 30 pitches from 5 different guys, can we do it? Can they do it? I'm going to put guys out there consistently, and let's see what can happen. Also, the bats have to come alive, right? You're not beating most of the time Coastal Carolina with 3 runs. You really need the bats, and they have the bats, right? They had like 6 doubles last night. They have the bats to keep up with Coastal Carolina. They just have to do it, right? If they gotten a couple of clutch base hits early on in that ball game, it would have been a different ball game. And it's not about having a 10-run inning like App State did, a run here, a run there, and instead of being down 6-0 at one point in time, maybe you're down 6-2, 6-3, and then all of a sudden you can rally later on and get those runs, and now you're much closer instead of, the Cajuns, had the tying run on deck, which is pretty good when you're down 6-0 at one point in time, but it could have been closer with just a couple extra base hits. So we will see the Cajuns and Coastal Carolina later on today, 12:30-ish, first pitch Central Time. All right, let's take one more time out. We'll come back and talk about the Ragin Cajuns softball team coming up short in Seattle against the Washington Huskies. All right, again, special thanks for staying with us. Locked On Sunbelt. Really appreciate it. We continue to grow. I'm not sure we're going to get to the 250 mark by the end of the Sunbelt. Boy, it sure would be nice by Sunbelt tournament. Sure would be nice if some team like Coastal Carolina or Southern Miss or the Cajuns or whomever gets to the College World Series. That could be asking for a lot. But nonetheless, we do appreciate everybody tuning in. We will get back to the football. I've got one coach so far. We will try to get some other coaches. Kind of, I don't want to say it's a dead period. It doesn't ever seem to be a dead period, but kind of a low-key period. When Nick Saban's taking vacations, it's downtime. So maybe we can get them in, talk about what were the expectations heading into spring. How does the team look now? What positions do you still have to make decisions on? And I always like asking when they like to have a decision on the quarterback. Not when we find out, when we, the media, or the fans. When do you have a decision and like to have it by? And most guys are like, as soon as possible. But then others are like, let's play this out, right? Which means that they're not really sure yet. So we will do that as the summer goes through, and all these preview magazines are coming out. So again, we're looking forward to having a football discussion once the baseball and the softball is over. Please, if you see it on YouTube, I'm happy to answer any questions. Put your comments in there and go from there. Also share the video, and also don't forget about the audio portion of the show, wherever you get audio podcasts, you can find Locked On Sunbelt, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it may be. Just search Locked On Sunbelt, and you'll be able to find it. All right. We do appreciate it. All right. One more segment, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm Dave Schultz. Cajun softball takes it on the chin, 8-0. Kind of in a blink of an eye, they got run ruled. It was 0-0 heading to the bottom half of the fourth, and Sam Landry struggled in the first, but seemed to be in a groove in the second and the third, but then hit the leadoff batter in the fourth, and not one 2-run home run, but two 2-run home runs, and that was basically the ball game. The Cajuns only got 2 base hits. They actually threatened in the first without the benefit of a base hit. And I think it was Carly Heath's line drive to second was caught by Bailey Klingler, and that gets through. Who knows? You have no idea. The other one was, Malin pitched so well, the starter for Washington, but the pitch count, and I know pitch count, she finished with 99. She did well because she didn't have to pitch the 6th and 7th. But she was getting up there I don't want to say struggling, but the Cajuns kind of started getting to her. Jordan Campbell had a double. There were a couple of runners on in the fourth, and she got Lainey Crater to strike out. Was that inning? Let me see here. I may be an inning behind. Let me see when Lainey came up. Lainey came up in the fourth inning and struck out with a couple of runners on in a scoreless ball game. But if that could have been a quick bottom half of the fourth, maybe Ruby is a little tired. All right. She was already up to close to 80 pitches, whereas Sam Landry was in the mid-40s. So there was a little bit of an advantage there, but that's not the way that it went. Unfortunately, it got out of hand fast. Hit by pitch, RBI double, 2-run home run. And then I know she pitched really well in the regional against LSU, but a little bit surprised that they went with Riaceto instead of Kendra Lamb. Is it 3-0? The game is over already? Is that it? This team can score some runs. I know it was in the fourth, but we put a freshman in a tight spot when maybe you get Kendra Lamb's feet wet and put her in there and see what we can do. Maybe you don't want them to see her, I guess. Certainly there's a lot of softball strategy I'm not aware of. You still have Megan Shorman. You still have Carly Heath. You still have Kendra Lamb. Even Sam Landry didn't pitch 51 pitches. All right. So there's still a shot. I will be hashtag always a bright side. All right. LSU shut out the Cajuns as well. And the Cajuns had to come back and, they took care of Omaha, and then they had to beat LSU not once, but twice in one day. Cajuns only have to beat Washington one time today. The Bats have to get going, though. They only had 2 base hits, and so they'll be looking to do a little bit more on Saturday. All right. We'll probably have another episode depending on what happens today. Heck, if the Cajuns win, we'll have one. And if not, we can preview the Southern Miss and Coastal matchup as well. Because from the get-go, and I'm usually not right about these things, and I may not be right yet on this one, but I had Southern Miss and Coastal on a collision course from the get-go. All right. Please have a safe and healthy weekend. We'll do another episode here. Plus, we'll probably have a special episode on 2 episodes for Monday, one recapping everything, and then the College World Series episode where we'll find out if Coastal is a national seed, if Southern Miss is hosting. So there'll be a lot to do. Plus, I get a day off. So that'll be good as well, at least for my day job. All right. So please have a happy and healthy weekend. I appreciate you watching and listening. I am your host, Dave Schultz. You've been watching and listening Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.